The aliens' arrival and the tension in the room. The spacecraft descended slowly through the Earth's atmosphere, its sleek, metallic body reflecting the light from the setting sun. Arathis, the veteran alien, sat in the cockpit, his hands firmly gripping the controls. He had traveled across galaxies to reach this planet, but something about Earth felt different. There was a strange energy in the air, something he couldn't quite place, and it made him uneasy. The mission was simple: observe, learn, and report. Yet, as the ship touched down, and the engines powered down with a soft hum, Arathis couldn't shake the feeling that something more awaited him. He stepped out of the spacecraft, his boots touching the soft, green grass of Earth's soil for the first time. The surroundings were peaceful, almost serene, but that sense of unease lingered in his chest. Humans, a species so small in comparison to his own, had always been of interest to the Galactic Council. Their ability to survive against overwhelming odds was legendary. But it was their history, the stories of their wars, that intrigued Arathis the most. He was escorted to a nearby building by a human guide, an old historian named Dr. Tobias Quinn. The building, though humble in appearance, was filled with relics of the past. The air inside was thick with the scent of aged paper and the faint hum of machines working in the background. The walls were lined with displays of human history, wars, battles, and the resilience of a species that had always been on the brink of extinction. Dr. Quinn led Arathis down a long corridor, each step echoing in the otherwise quiet building. The alien couldn't help but feel the weight of the place, as if the very walls were holding secrets, waiting to be uncovered. Dr. Quinn paused at the end of the hallway and gestured to a large door. "This is where you will learn the true story of humanity's strength," the human said, his voice carrying a mixture of pride and somberness. As the door creaked open, Arathis stepped inside, his eyes immediately drawn to the massive display in front of him. It was a holographic projection of the Earth's past: battlefields, ruined cities, and images of humans locked in conflict. But what struck Arathis the most was the look on the faces of the humans in the images. Despite the destruction, despite the chaos, there was a fire in their eyes, a fire that seemed to burn brighter with each passing conflict. Dr. Quinn began to speak, his voice steady and calm. But there was an undeniable tension in the air. "You must understand, Arathis," he said, "humans are a species forged in the flames of war. We were born out of necessity, out of survival. Every step we've taken has been driven by the need to fight and protect. Our wars have shaped us, and they continue to shape us to this very day." Arathis listened intently, but the words were like a strange melody, one he couldn't quite understand. He had encountered many civilizations in his long life, but none like humanity. They were unpredictable, chaotic, and yet there was a deep, unsettling power that radiated from them. It was a power born not from technology or sheer strength, but from something far more dangerous: their will to fight and survive. Dr. Quinn motioned to a nearby display, showing a famous battle from Earth's past. "This," he said, "is one of the first major conflicts humanity faced. The Great War. It was a time when the world seemed on the edge of destruction. But humans didn't crumble under pressure. They rose to the occasion. They fought with everything they had, and they did it for the future of their people." Arathis couldn't help but be intrigued. As the images flickered before him, he saw human soldiers charging into battle, fear in their eyes, but determination in their hearts. They fought not for glory or fame, but for survival, for the chance to continue their existence. And despite being outmatched by their enemies, they somehow found a way to win. A chill ran down Arathis' spine. This was no ordinary species. The stories of their wars, their battles, their sacrifices were unlike anything he had ever heard of in his travels. But what was even more unsettling was the realization that humanity didn't just survive these wars. They learned from them. They adapted, evolved, and came out stronger with each conflict. The alien veteran glanced at Dr. Quinn, who was watching him closely. And that the humans said quietly, is the true strength of humanity. Not in their weapons, not in their technology, but in their spirit. The ability to fight, to never give up, no matter the odds. Arethys remained silent, processing the information. He had heard of humans before, of course. The galaxy was filled with tales of their wars, their ingenuity, and their ability to overcome impossible odds. But seeing it firsthand, feeling the weight of their history, it was something entirely different, something that left him unsettled, even fearful. As Dr. Quinn turned to lead him further into the building, Arethys couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. There was something deeper hidden within humanity's past, something darker and more dangerous than he could ever imagine. And as the historian began to speak of the next battle, Arethys felt a cold sweat forming on the back of his neck. The truth about humanity's wars was only beginning to unfold, and it was far more terrifying than any alien could have predicted. Arethys couldn't stop thinking about the stories Dr. Quinn had shown him. Each battle, each war seemed to add more layers to the mystery of humanity. As he followed Dr. Quinn through the corridors of the historical building, the weight of the information was pressing down on him. What kind of species could survive such turmoil, such endless conflict, and still rise again stronger? He had never encountered anything like this before. They entered a large room filled with ancient artifacts, broken weapons, charred pieces of armor, and faded banners from wars long past. The walls were lined with murals depicting scenes of chaos, destruction, and fierce battles. The images told a story of suffering, but also of resilience. The human spirit, though battered, had never been broken. Arethys could feel it in the air, a force that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Dr. Quinn began to explain. Humans have always faced great challenges, not just from enemies outside, but from within their own world. We've had to fight wars to protect ourselves, our families, and our way of life. But we've also fought wars against ourselves, our own divisions, our own darkness. The historian's voice grew somber as he spoke. What makes us different from other species is that we never give up. No matter the odds, no matter the cost, we find a way to survive. Arethys listened intently. He had heard of humans in passing, how they had colonized distant worlds and built great cities. But these stories painted a different picture. This was a species that had been forced to fight, not just for survival, but for their very identity. The more he learned, the more he realized that humanity's true power didn't lie in their technology or their weapons. It was something much deeper, something far more dangerous. Dr. Quinn led him to another display, this one showing a series of holographic images depicting humanity's most devastating war, the war that nearly wiped out their entire species. The Great Conflict, as it was called, had torn the planet apart, pitting humans against one another in a battle for control. Cities had fallen, millions had died, and yet, somehow, the human race had emerged from the ashes. Arethys watched in stunned silence as the images unfolded before him. The brutality of the war was unlike anything he had ever witnessed. The humans had fought with a ferocity that seemed almost animalistic. But there was something else, a determination that was unmatched. Despite the destruction, despite the losses, they had not only survived, but had rebuilt their world. How? Arethys asked, his voice barely a whisper. How did you survive such a war? Dr. Quinn turned to him, his expression grave. We learned. We adapted. After every war, we rebuilt, redefined ourselves, and became stronger. It wasn't the weapons that made us strong. It was our ability to learn from our failures, to adapt to new challenges, and to never give up on our people. Arethys felt a chill run through him. This wasn't a species to be underestimated. In all his years of traveling the galaxy, he had encountered countless civilizations, but none like humanity. Their capacity for destruction was matched only by their resilience. They were like a force of nature, something that couldn't be predicted or controlled. They didn't just fight wars. They learned from them. And in doing so, they became more powerful with each conflict. As Dr. Quinn continued to speak, Erethus began to understand the true nature of humanity's strength. It wasn't just about survival. It was about the willingness to face unimaginable odds, to sacrifice, and to keep fighting even when everything seemed lost. The alien veteran felt a sense of awe mixed with fear. This was not the species he had thought it was. They were something far more complex, far more dangerous than he could have imagined. But as much as Erethus was learning about humanity's strength, there was something else that lingered in the back of his mind. A question that refused to be answered. Why had the humans been left behind? Why had their seat in the Galactic Council remained empty for so long? What secret was the galaxy hiding from the rest of the universe? Dr. Quinn noticed the unease on Erethus' face and gave him a knowing look. "There's more to humanity than just our wars," he said, his voice softer now. "The truth behind our survival, our strength, is tied to something much older, something the galaxy hasn't been ready to face." Erethus narrowed his eyes, sensing the gravity in Dr. Quinn's words. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice low. Dr. Quinn hesitated for a moment before answering. "The war you're about to hear about, the one that nearly destroyed us all, wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight for control. But the truth of what happened, the real reason we survived, it's something the galaxy would never expect. It's something the rest of the universe has tried to ignore." The tension in the room thickened. Erethus felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Whatever Dr. Quinn was about to reveal, it was going to change everything. The room seemed to grow colder as Erethus stood frozen, processing the weight of Dr. Quinn's words. Humanity, a species he had once viewed as a fragile collection of beings, had kept something hidden. A power so vast and dangerous that it could not only destroy their enemies, but also the very fabric of the galaxy itself. The truth was more staggering than he had ever imagined. What kind of force was this? And why had Earth, a once proud member of the Galactic Council, chosen to abandon it all? Dr. Quinn moved away from the crystalline structure, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon beyond the window. This power, this weapon, it was never just about victory in war. It was something more profound. A part of the very essence of humanity, something we found in the deepest corners of our history, buried beneath centuries of conflict and strife. Erethus' mind raced, the pieces of the puzzle slowly beginning to fit together. The sudden disappearance of Earth's seat in the Galactic Council, the mysterious silence surrounding their actions, it all made sense now. But if humanity had this kind of power, why didn't they use it? Why hide it? The alien veteran turned to Dr. Quinn, his voice tinged with disbelief. "You're telling me you could have ended all wars, all suffering, by simply using this weapon, but you didn't? Why? Why stay silent?" Dr. Quinn sighed, his face filled with the heavy burden of centuries-old regret. "Because we realized the cost of such power. We understood that to wield it would mean to change the very nature of our existence. Humanity's wars weren't just battles for resources or territory. They were struggles that forced us to evolve, to grow. We fought for survival, yes, but we also fought for our identity. If we had used the weapon, we would have lost what made us human." Erethus was silent, his mind trying to grasp the concept. For a species that had risen from the ashes of countless wars and hardships, this kind of decision seemed almost impossible. The idea of humanity choosing to remain in the shadows, sacrificing power for survival, was something that Erethus had never encountered before. Dr. Quinn continued, his voice growing quieter, more contemplative. "We made the choice, Erethus. We chose to protect the galaxy from the consequences of our own actions. Earth's seat in the Council was left empty because we knew that if we ever took it, the galaxy would be forced to confront the truth, and that truth was terrifying." The veteran alien looked at the historian, his confusion still evident. But what was so terrifying about it? What could have been so bad that the galaxy would have feared you? Dr. Quinn's eyes darkened. It wasn't just the weapon itself. It was the fact that humanity, in its desperation, was willing to cross a line that no other species had. We were willing to risk everything, even our own moral compass, for the sake of survival. And once we discovered that power, we understood that we could never return to who we were before. We would have been changed forever, in ways we couldn't fully understand. Erethus felt a knot form in his stomach. He had faced war. He had seen the destruction it left behind. But he had never been forced to choose between survival and the loss of one's very soul. And yet that was the choice humanity had made. The more Erethus thought about it, the more he realized how deeply this choice had impacted Earth's role in the galaxy. Dr. Quinn continued to speak, his voice tinged with a mix of sadness and pride. We kept the secret, not out of fear, but because we didn't want to burden the galaxy with the consequences of our actions. We chose to remain neutral, to stay out of the council, because we knew that once this truth was known, the galaxy would no longer see us as mere humans. We would become something else, a threat, a power that could no longer be controlled. Erethus' mind flashed to the other races in the galaxy, the alliances, the treaties, the fragile peace that held the stars together. What would they think of humanity once they learned the truth? How would they react to a species that had wielded such immense power and then locked it away? Would they see humanity as a danger or as a savior? For the first time since arriving on Earth, Erethus began to feel a deep respect for the humans who had made this decision. They had faced unimaginable choices and had made the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good of the galaxy. They had chosen silence over dominance, peace over power, and humanity over the temptation of godlike control. But now, the time for silence was over. The truth had been unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Quinn looked up at the stars beyond the window, his voice barely a whisper. We have hidden this secret for so long, Erethus, but now the time has come. The galaxy must know the truth, and humanity will never be the same again. Erethus took one last look at the crystal, the pulse of energy still faintly glowing. As the historian's words echoed in his mind, he realized that the universe was standing on the edge of a revelation that could change everything. The terrifying truth was no longer hidden. It was out there, and the galaxy would have to face it. The truth was out now, and the galaxy could not unhear it. For days, Erethus remained on Earth, his mind constantly racing, trying to comprehend the enormity of what he had learned. The weapon that humanity had once wielded, the power that had been hidden from the universe, was now no longer just a whisper in the dark. It was a terrifying reality. Dr. Quinn had spoken of humanity's choice to lock away their power, but now Erethus wondered, had they made the right decision? Could the galaxy really have been trusted with such a weapon, or had Earth been right to shield it from others? As Erethus wandered the streets of Earth, his thoughts were consumed by the future. The galaxy was already beginning to stir, murmurs and whispers spreading across the stars. News of Earth's hidden power had reached every corner of the galaxy, and soon it was all anyone could talk about. The first to arrive were the Prevails, an ancient race known for their calculated wisdom and cold logic. They had long held the belief that only the strongest could rule, and they viewed power as a means to an end. Erethus knew they would not take the news lightly. The Prevails Council requested a meeting with the human leaders. They came with an air of superiority, their towering forms and sharp, calculating eyes giving them an intimidating presence. The tension in the room was palpable as the humans, despite their small stature, stood firm before their ancient counterparts. Erethus had been invited to witness the meeting, and he stood silently at the back of the room, watching the two sides. The humans, led by Dr. Quinn, did not flinch under the intense gaze of the Prevails, but Erethus could sense the unease in the air. You understand the significance of this, don't you? One of the Prevails council members asked in a voice that sent a shiver down Erethus' spine. You have hidden a weapon that could shake the very core of the galaxy, and you expect us to simply accept that. Dr. Quinn stepped forward, his calm demeanor masking the storm brewing beneath the surface. We did what we thought was right. We kept it hidden because we knew what would happen if it was revealed. But now the choice is no longer ours to make. The truth is out." Erethys watched as the Vrethel exchanged glances, their cold eyes calculating the situation. The galaxy was now divided. Those who believed in power above all else saw humanity as a threat, a species that could destabilize the delicate balance of power. But others, those who were more cautious, saw the truth as a sign of humanity's incredible restraint. They saw a species that had the power to dominate, but had chosen not to. After several hours of tense discussion, the Vrethel left Earth, their eyes full of uncertainty. But Erethys knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would now begin to weigh the consequences of humanity's decision, and the repercussions would echo through the stars. But it wasn't just the Vrethel who had taken notice. The clans of the Shokar, a warrior race known for their relentless pursuit of honor and glory, had heard the news as well. They had always believed that power was meant to be used, that strength was the ultimate measure of worth. The Shokar had already begun to prepare for war, eager to test their mettle against humanity's hidden weapon. The Shokar leader, a massive being named Gorak, was not one to back down from a challenge. He arrived on Earth with his fleet, ready to demand an answer. The humans, still grappling with the implications of their secret, had no choice but to face them. "I do not understand why you hide your strength." Gorak's voice boomed as he stepped into the room, his eyes blazing with intensity. "We, the Shokar, have always fought to prove our worth. And now you tell us you have the means to destroy us all. Why did you hide this power? Why did you not use it to show your superiority?" Dr. Quinn, though visibly tense, remained composed. "It was never about superiority, Gorak. It was about humanity's refusal to be defined by power alone. We didn't want to be feared, we wanted to be understood." Gorak growled in frustration, clearly struggling to understand the human stance. "But power is everything. Strength is the measure of all things in the galaxy." Erethys watched as the room grew thick with tension. This was the moment when the galaxy would decide humanity's fate. Would they be seen as a threat, or a force for peace? Would they be crushed by the weight of their own power, or would they be allowed to remain neutral? "I will leave you with a choice, humans," Gorak said, his tone filled with finality. "You can either join us in the pursuit of power and strength, or you will stand alone. If you refuse, we will have no choice but to destroy you." Dr. Quinn's face remained stoic, but Erethys could see the fire burning behind his eyes. Humanity had already made its choice. It had chosen restraint. It had chosen peace. But now, the galaxy would test that resolve. As Gorak and his warriors left Earth, Erethys couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was on the brink of something much larger. Humanity's secret was out, and now, every race in the galaxy would have to decide where they stood. The galaxy was now divided, and the aftermath of Earth's revelation was still settling. The Vrethel, the Shokar, and a dozen other races were left wondering what to make of humanity's choice to hide its power. For most, the news that Earth had hidden such a devastating weapon from the stars was both terrifying and fascinating. Some feared what humanity could do with such strength, while others were intrigued by the sheer restraint they had shown in locking it away. But for all the fear and uncertainty that clouded the future, there was one group that saw things differently. The Kerith, a race known for their diplomacy and quiet wisdom, had been watching from afar. They were not as quick to judge as the others. Instead, they saw the humans not as a threat, but as a new opportunity. The Kerith had long prided themselves on their ability to bring peace to the galaxy, their influence helping to broker treaties and alliances between warring species. They had seen the potential for peace in the way the humans had handled their power. The Kerith believed that the true strength of a species was not in how much power they had, but in how they chose to use it. And so, the Kerith approached Earth, extending an olive branch to the humans. Their leader, an elder named Hessa, requested a meeting with Dr. Quinn and the council. Erethys, still troubled by the recent events, was asked to attend. Despite the tense atmosphere, There was something about the Kerith that seemed different. They weren't here to conquer or threaten. They were here to offer something else. As the meeting began, Hessa's calm demeanor immediately stood out. She was an ancient being, her skin smooth and silver like the moon, her eyes deep pools of wisdom. She spoke slowly, with a quiet power that commanded attention. "Humans," Hessa began, "we have been watching your world for a long time. We know of your restraint, your decision to hide your power. And we believe that this restraint is the key to the future of the galaxy." Dr. Quinn leaned forward, intrigued. "Are you suggesting that humanity's decision to keep our power hidden is a strength?" Hessa nodded. "Yes, the galaxy is filled with conflict, with empires that fight for dominance. Power is sought by those who believe that strength equals control. But you, humans, have shown something different. You've shown the ability to choose peace over war. You've shown that true power lies not in destruction, but in restraint." The words hung in the air, and for the first time, Arathis saw a flicker of hope in the human's eyes. The Kerith were not here to demand anything. They weren't offering threats or ultimatums like the Vrethel or the Shokar. They were offering an alliance, a partnership built on shared values. Dr. Quinn remained silent for a moment, as if weighing the decision carefully. Finally, he spoke, his voice firm yet thoughtful. "And what do you want from us, if we accept this alliance?" Hessa's eyes twinkled. "We seek not your weapons, but your wisdom. We seek to understand the strength that lies within you, the strength that comes from restraint. Together, we can bring balance to the galaxy. We can show others that true power does not come from domination, but from understanding." The proposition was unexpected. The galaxy had never seen such an offer, not from a race like the Kerith. An alliance with the Kerith meant something entirely different from what humanity had been faced with before. It wasn't about war, or power, or conquest. It was about peace and trust, and the possibility of building a future together, one where strength was measured not by the ability to destroy, but by the willingness to protect. The room fell into silence as Dr. Quinn considered the Kerith leader's words. Arathis stood at the back, observing the exchange with a sense of awe. He had seen the destruction of countless worlds in his time, but he had never seen such a proposal before. It was a chance to do something different, something that no one had ever dared to attempt. "I think we have much to offer," Dr. Quinn said, finally breaking the silence. "We are willing to work with you, to learn from you. But we must make one thing clear. We will not abandon our choice for peace. Our power is not for conquest. It is for defense, and for the protection of those who cannot defend themselves." Hessa smiled, a knowing expression crossing her face. "That is all we ask. Together, we can show the galaxy that peace is not a weakness. It is a strength." As the meeting drew to a close, Arathis couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for the humans. In a galaxy filled with chaos and conflict, they had chosen a different path. They had chosen peace, and now it seemed that the Kerith had recognized that path as the one worth following. But as Arathis prepared to leave Earth, he knew that the galaxy would not be so easily convinced. There were those who still believed that power was the only way to survive, that strength was the ultimate measure of a species, and they would not give up so easily. The stage was set for a new kind of war, a war not fought with weapons, but with ideas. And humanity, it seemed, was ready to lead the charge. The meeting with the Kerith was just the beginning of something much larger than any of them could have imagined. With the Kerith offering their support and a shared vision for a peaceful galaxy, humanity was now on the precipice of a new era. But there were still deep challenges ahead. Not every race in the galaxy shared the Kerith's belief in peace, and the looming threat of war still hung in the air like a storm cloud. As Arathis returned to the Vrethel Empire, he couldn't shake the image of the humans and their alliance with the Kerith. The galaxy had never seen anything like it, a partnership founded on restraint, wisdom, and mutual respect. Arathis knew that if humanity succeeded in uniting other races under this banner of peace, it would change everything. The power of restraint, of choosing peace over destruction, was a revolutionary concept that many in the galaxy had never even considered. But there were enemies, powerful enemies, who were unwilling to let such an alliance flourish. The Shokar, long known for their warlike tendencies, had been closely monitoring Earth's rise. They saw the Carith's offer as a direct challenge to their way of life, a challenge they would not tolerate. Their leader, Zorvok, was a brutal strategist who believed that the strong must rule. He had long coveted the idea of galactic conquest, and humanity's peaceful path threatened everything he stood for. Zorvok wasted no time in gathering a coalition of like-minded races, all hungry for power and willing to do whatever it took to maintain control. They saw the Carith's offer of peace as a weakness, something to exploit. The thought of a galaxy united under the banner of peace was unbearable to them, and they vowed to crush it before it could take root. News of Zorvok's coalition spread quickly across the galaxy, and fear began to grip the hearts of many. Could the alliance between humanity and the Carith stand up to such a formidable force? Could peace truly hold its ground against the relentless march of war? As the tension built, humanity was faced with a choice. Dr. Quinn, Arathis, and the Council had to decide if they would fight for the peace they believed in, or if they would succumb to the pressure and the fear of the looming conflict. It was a decision that weighed heavily on their shoulders, and one that would determine the fate of the galaxy. "We can't back down now," Dr. Quinn said, his voice resolute. "If we give in to fear, we've lost before we even begin." Arathis, still struggling with the notion of war, spoke up, his voice heavy with the weight of his experience. "But what if we're not strong enough? What if the galaxy isn't ready to accept peace?" Dr. Quinn turned to him, his eyes filled with determination. "Then we'll make them see. We will show them that peace is not weakness. We will stand, not with weapons, but with the truth of our actions. We'll lead by example." With that, the humans, along with the Carith and their newfound allies, set into motion a plan to unite the galaxy under the banner of peace. It was not a simple task. They had to work tirelessly to convince each race, each faction, that peace was not only possible but worth fighting for. The Carith, with their diplomatic skills, played a key role in negotiating and de-escalating tensions, while humanity showed that their strength was not in their weapons, but in their will to protect. The battle wasn't fought on the fields of war. Instead, it was a battle of ideas. Propaganda, speeches, broadcasts. Every form of media was used to spread the message that peace was not just an ideal, but a practical and achievable reality. The galaxy began to take notice. Slowly but surely, the tides began to turn. Zorvok's coalition, frustrated by the resistance they encountered, resorted to more desperate measures. They launched attacks on peaceful planets, hoping to provoke a response, to force the galaxy into war. But humanity, true to their word, refused to take the bait. They held fast to their belief that peace was worth the struggle, that it was worth the fight. In the end, it was humanity's unwavering resolve that won the day. One by one, the races that had once been poised for war turned their backs on Zorvok's coalition. They saw the strength in humanity's choice to stand for peace, and they joined the growing movement. The galaxy began to shift. The final blow came not in the form of a military strike, but in the quiet defection of the Shokar themselves. Zorvok, isolated and betrayed by his own people, was forced into retreat. The war he had once dreamed of was over, and in its place, a new hope had been born. Humanity had done it. They had shown the galaxy that peace was not only possible, but that it could be stronger than any weapon, any army, any empire. The Carith had been right. True strength did not lie in domination, but in understanding, and humanity had been the first to truly grasp this truth. As Dr. Quinn stood before the united galaxy, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had fought not with guns and bombs, but with their ideals, their values, and their unwavering belief in the power of peace. And in doing so, humanity had changed the galaxy forever.